Okay, we're live. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here for the Launch Mastermind. I want to just review a couple of things that we discussed this morning. Number one is, what's that? So this morning we talked about the importance of tracking and making sure that you are paying attention to how you're spending your time, and then of course what type of results you're getting from your time. Okay, let's see, I'm gonna let a few more people in. So are we on track, right? How do we know if we're on track? Well, we got to know what our numbers are. So remember, every single person has a MREA2 spreadsheet, so we know exactly what we should be accomplishing each week or each month according to our business plan. And then we can easily tell if we're on track or not on track. I also sent out a document. Diane, I'm happy to share some of this stuff with you too. It's not a big deal. Basically a daily success list, which is a very simple kind of in-your-face way of saying, am I doing the important stuff today, right? It's right in your face. It says, have I looked at my goals? Have I looked at my pipeline? Have I opened up command? Have I practiced my scripts? How many calls did I log? All that kind of stuff. So it's easy to go back and report your numbers each week. Okay. We're going to do a bold 50 on Monday. So we moved the buyer presentation class from Monday to Tuesday so that we can, so that I can model for you and encourage you to do this behavior, which is, reorganize your day and get an awareness that there's nothing more important than hitting your goals, right? I know we all have distractions and family commitments and all that kind of stuff. And please understand, don't hear that I'm saying family is not important. I just want you to get what you wanted at the beginning when we set these goals. So we might need to adjust our behaviors and our schedule as we go through the month. So this is a good example. So Monday morning, we're going to open up the room at 8:30 like normal. We'll do a little pep talk for a half hour or so, and then we're going to keep the room open the entire day. And hopefully people can come and go as they wish. You can turn off the sound, turn off the camera if you prefer. And I just want to create an environment where people feel supported and can ask questions as they have them. And then we're going to go out there and get into conversation with a bunch of people and add a bunch of people to our database. Any questions about that? Okay, talk to me. What are you guys experiencing out there? What are you doing well? What are you struggling with? The purpose of this mastermind is really an opportunity to, many of us are newer agents or relaunching our business, and I just want to make sure that whatever you're struggling with, you're probably not alone. So first off, I want to make sure that you feel supported and your questions get answered. And I'd like for you to leave today knowing that you have the tools and the community to go be super successful. What's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to share something.
Please.
I think that's awesome that you're going to be doing the 50 with us on the calls. I think the hardest thing for me, which I don't mind sharing, is sometimes getting into just sitting there and actually making your calls every day and just getting that block and not actually letting anything else step into that block. So yesterday, I got myself in a zone and literally made my calls. I made like maybe, I don't know, 30 or so calls. But I have an appointment that I have to follow up with to see if she's going to let me see her this weekend. And I have an appointment scheduled for Saturday at 3 for another listing. So
wow,
it's just to get into that, and I just appreciate you even introducing that, because I think even just from every year, the hardest part is always getting on the phone and just making the actual call itself. Just to me, just to share with everybody.
No, first of all, thank you for sharing. This is kind of a theme that's come up a few times in the last few days, which is this idea of, sometimes we get into this business because we, don't want a boss, right? And many people don't even want to be their own boss. Mm-hmm. And that is their immediate downfall. If you walk into this thing and you say, I'm going to treat this like a like a job. It's a job at first, okay? It'll get to a business, but it's a job at first, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You wake up, you brush your teeth, you put on your work clothes, and you do work things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is work things for us? Work things for us is becoming really smart about the market, negotiations, what to say, and then go finding people to say it to, right? And then executing on all the promises that you've made. All right, so if I say, hey, Diane, I'll call you in 3 months when it's closer to your lease expiring. Figure out a system, and I don't want to say figure it out like we don't have them and we can't help you with that, but you must
Mm-hmm.
have a system in place so that that doesn't slip through the cracks, right? That is our job. If we come into this and we're kind of, loosey-goosey around how we spend our time, and we're loosey-goosey around kind of our energy, and then we're going to treat it like a hobby. And you guys have heard me say this many times. If this is actually from the what book is this from? It's from I think the Hold book. Okay, and it's a phrase that it was completely off topic. They were talking about property management, but they basically said if you treat it like a hobby, it will pay you like a hobby. Let that sink in. If you treat it like a hobby, it will pay you like a hobby, right? So if you come into work and you're dressed right and you know what your priorities are and you are focused, you will clobber this business, y'all. This business is not that hard. Okay. It is simply finding the people you're going to help, executing on all the promises you've made, and delivering A+ customer service. That's all this thing is. The cool part about it is it costs around $1,300 or so per year to keep your license from an office bill perspective, right? And being a part of the board. And you can make as much money as you want. You can work whenever you feel like working, right? And that's the coolest part about the gig and one of the toughest parts about the gig. Have you guys ever heard the phrase that real estate is the easiest low-paying job you'll ever have and the hardest high-paying job you'll ever have? You get to pick. Does that resonate with you, Diane? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute.
I guess it didn't unmute when I clicked it. I
Yeah.
said I had not heard that before. No.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can wake up and do absolutely nothing. I mean, you're not gonna get in trouble, right? No one's gonna judge you, but you're gonna get you're not gonna have any results, right? The question is how committed to the results are you, right? We talked about that quite a bit on the call with Robin this morning about time management. Like, if you have a goal, you have to ask yourself, how committed am I to this goal, right? I mean, I have a goal to lose 20 pounds before the end of the year, but I got to admit to you, I'm not that committed to it, right? I'm choosing to do other things sometimes. So I'm kind of fooling myself, right?
This may not be a question for this particular class, but you know, talked about, or you've talked about, you have to do your call list or you have to do whatever it is that you do. In the real estate class that I took before I got my license, right, was just a month ago,
Yeah.
but it said that you can't call people if they're on the no call list.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody's talked about checking a no call list somewhere to make sure that the people you have in your Rolodex are in a no call list.
Good question. So every month, Lee sends out a link to the updated version of the no call list that may or may not have coincided with you joining. So I can let me make a note to forward that to you. Hang on one sec. No call list. Okay. Here's how I would respond to that. Your friends and family, I wouldn't worry at all about that. Do you have a relation? It's not your friend isn't going to say, hey, I'm on the no call list, don't check in with me, right?
They might.
Well, that's a quick way to get them out of your call list,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
here's the deal with the no call list is it's blurry. Okay, it's a lot of gray area there. Like if you're called, like for example, let's say I have an open house and I get a list of the people that live nearby, and I want to call and invite those people to my open house. And I call and I say, hey, this is Bill with Keller Williams. I wanted to invite you to an open house, neighbors only from 1 to 2 on Sunday. We're going to be serving some coffee and donuts, and I just wanted you to have an opportunity to come by. I feel like I can make a pretty convincing argument that's not solicitation.
Okay.
Right. Now, that may not be how it's perceived on the other side. I'm willing to take the risk.
Okay.
Okay. If somebody has an expired listing, right? Those listings are, the service that we provide, Vulcan 7, that supposedly does scrub against the no or the do not call list. However, they're trying to sell their home, right? I'm a real estate agent. I deal with people that are trying to sell their home. I just had a quick question. Can I help you? Is there anything I can help you with? Right? I mean, I'm not here to tell you to ignore that. Please don't hear that at all. But it's very possible to spend all day long quadruple checking that somebody's not on the no call list or is on the no call list, and eventually you don't make any phone calls and don't do anything, right? If there are people that say, that's not a risk I'm willing to take on, fine. Don't call anybody. Go find business through a different channel.
Gotcha.
Right, which is open houses, social media ads, networking, friends and family, old colleagues, old schoolmates. Somebody mentioned the other day, do I have to call strangers? I said, no, you don't have to do anything, as a matter of fact. But you told me that you want to make 100 grand. And so if you want to make 100 grand, you have to sit down with this number of people and present to them each year. If your current database is not going to give you that number of appointments, then you only have one choice to make, which is you need to grow your database. Now you get to pick from 3,000 different ways of finding opportunities. FSBOs and withdrawals and expireds do not have to be on that list, but don't kid yourself. If you don't meet people you don't currently know, you will not grow your business. Is that kind of like a realtor's way of answering that question?
It is.
The truth of the matter is, I feel like I can talk my way out of most of that. So I don't lay in bed worrying about it, to be perfectly honest. Right. Now, if somebody gives me pushback and say, hey, I'm on the no call list, I'm so sorry. I must have an outdated version of it. I'm so sorry. Have a great day. Right. I'm not going to be like, do you still want to sell your house? Right. I'm not an idiot. Right.
Yeah.
You just, when you have the energy of coming from contribution, then it doesn't feel like solicitation to me. If I call somebody and I offer to connect them with a lender so they can refinance their home and save hundreds of dollars a month, I don't feel like that's solicitation. I feel like that's an offer. And if you don't want the offer, then just tell me you don't want the offer, and we'll both go in our own merry way.
Okay.
Great question, though. Who else? Who else wants to ask a question or has a topic they want to cover? It's real estate is the perfect intersection of numbers and relationships. Okay, Gary Keller talked about that on the first bold pivot a few weeks ago, and if you guys remember, he said there is a mathematical equation in place with near certainty that if I ring the phone enough times, I will speak to enough people to say what I need to say to them to book an appointment. And if I go on enough appointments, there is a mathematical certainty that somebody will agree to work with me. Okay. And so therefore it's simply a numbers game, right? If I want to go out on a date tomorrow night with somebody and I ask one person and she says, no, I'm not going on any dates. But if I really want to go on a date, I'm going to ask enough people and eventually somebody's going to say yes. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. Does that make sense? So we go back to what Robin was saying earlier on the time management call, which is you have to make a decision. You said you wanted fill in the blank. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Right? I really want to help you guys build your business. That's why I'm here every single day at 8:30. I'm committed 100% to that. I am less committed to working out. That's why it didn't happen today. Y'all follow that? All right, what do you hear? Donna, did you get that deal under contract? Man, tell us about that, please.
Well, it's not under contract yet because I wanted to talk to you first. I'm not really sure how to move forward.
Okay.
But just to let everybody know, we put in an offer yesterday on a home. It was a multiple offer situation. This is my buyer in McDonough. He ended up offering, well, I spoke with the listing agent to find out what was important to the seller. And what was important to the seller is no closing costs. The seller had some concerns that maybe the house might not appraise at the 179, and he didn't want to be in a situation where he'd have to pay closing costs and then also reduce the sale price to meet the appraisal. So he was looking for no closing costs. So that was what we submitted. We submitted an offer for the full list price at 179 and no closing costs because we really want to get our foot in the door and worry about negotiating any issues later. My buyer really wanted the house. So I spoke with, like I said, spoke with the listing agent. He said they had received multiple offers, but the fact that my buyer had a conventional loan was appealing as well. So I did all I could to build that rapport with the listing agent and to tell him, you know, that it was going to be a great transaction if he chose our offer and so on. So he called me this morning and said that they had narrowed it down to 2 offers, my buyers and another buyer's. And my buyer again at 179 with the conventional loan and no closing costs. The other one was actually an offer for 187. So well above that list price, no closing costs, but it was an FHA loan. So I consulted with Bill to see how I could kind of present this to my buyer to see if I could get him, you know, how he felt about going up to 183, because the listing agent said, if you can get your buyer up to 183, then we're going to go with you. And when I had spoken with my buyer yesterday to see what his highest and best was, he really didn't want to go above the list price. So we talked about it today, and I kind of pointed out to, I started the call with my buyer that I had received a call from the listing agent. They had narrowed it down to 2 offers, ours and another offer. And I asked him how if buying that house for $183,000 would make him happy. Would he be happy about that? And he surprised me and said he would right off the bat. And then I just revisited with him that he wouldn't be sacrificing anything as far as due diligence, the financing contingency, the appraisal contingency. We'd have our foot in the door. And if for some reason it didn't appraise at 183, then we could submit an amendment to reduce the sale price. I also, we talked about, you know, if he didn't take the deal today, if for some reason he wanted to keep looking, we have no idea what the market's going to do, what rates are going to do. So if he walked away today, he'd pretty much be betting that he could find a better house, a better rate. You know, he could do better than this house at 183. and there'd be a chance that, maybe rates will change, they'll go up, and he could end up losing that $4,000 difference or more in the long run if we wait. If
Right. And
rates
one other thing you did is you went back to the lender and
Oh, yes, I did that right before I spoke with my buyer. I went back to Tammy Mills with Shelter and I asked her to run the numbers because she had already provided us the loan worksheet at 179. So we knew what the estimated monthly payment was going to be at 179, what the closing costs would be, what he'd have to come to the table with at 179. I asked her to do the same thing for 183 so that I could show him in our conversation that we're really talking about approximately a $15 decision in the long run. So I think that helped too. Kind of brought it into perspective. Right now,
exactly.
we're talking about a difference of $15 a month.
Right, exactly. There are like 15 different ways that you just did exactly what you should have done. I mean, you were on point the whole time. So great job on that. One of the things that we touched on, which I think is really important to go into a tiny bit more detail here, is so sometimes buyers can have a bit of a kind of a weird energy around paying more than the home is listed for. So let me talk about that for just a second, okay? The list price is simply a number that a seller and a real estate agent choose in their kitchen room, right, in the kitchen. That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the value of the home, right? Sellers are sometimes realistic, sometimes they're not realistic. Listing agents are sometimes realistic, sometimes they're not realistic. Sometimes they're informed, sometimes they're not informed. They looked on Zillow and says, oh, 183 sounds good to me, right? When I was speaking to Donna about this, I said, there's two ways he can look at this 183 thing. He can say, the list price is 179. I'm thinking about paying 183. I don't want to pay over list price. That's not really the right way to look at it. The right way to look at it is, I have an opportunity to buy this home that clearly there's additional people that want to buy it. And if we're to trust this other agent, somebody's even willing to pay 187 for it. Can I find anything better in the marketplace for 183, right? Because 179, is that a good price? I don't know. It might actually be too low because it generated multiple offers, right? So the question is not, am I overpaying? We'll cross that bridge later through an appraisal and all these kind of things, right? The question is this the best thing that I can buy, right? And then it goes back to negotiation. And by the way, your listing agent showed his hand a little bit. I don't know if you noticed that, but he said something to the
I
effect.
absolutely noticed that when he told me 187, it shocked me. But he's not a Keller Williams agent, so.
Well, that I was even going to say something different, right? So yes, I think he showed his hand with the 187, although that could be used, that could have been more strategic than anything. But he also told you that he was afraid that the home wasn't going to appraise for 179, right? So if there happens to be an appraisal issue later, say, hey, just to remind you, we were worried about the home appraising for 179. So if he doesn't agree to sell this, reduce the price to, let's say, I don't know, 178, then he's going to be putting that home right back on the market, having to defend the fact that it was under contract and back active again. And he's going to deal with the same appraisal in the future, or the same, worriedness around whether the home's going to appraise or not. So he already showed that he's got doubts. So don't forget that. If you have to use that again, I'll help you with, putting some of that into some pretty direct wording so that you can get what you want then too.
Okay.
Make sense?
Thank you.
Sometimes you got to win first, right? Will the home appraise? It doesn't make a difference if you don't win. You got to win first.
Right. And that's kind of the attitude that we have. That's what I was trying to project to my buyer too. Let's get our foot in the door and then we'll handle it from there.
Right. And foot in the door is, this is my contract. Y'all back away. I'm the only buyer here. Make sense? Beautiful. Beautiful. Great work. Great work, Donna.
Thank you.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
That was a great scenario. Okay, I got 2 questions from that. So I have a situation that was just as similar to Donna, except I was on the seller side of this one, right?
Okay.
But this is what I did. I did want to get clarity on. So with the actual offers that you're getting in above list price, what other than the fact that FHA appraisers don't, or I guess maybe have a stigma that they don't appraise as high as a conventional loan, what is really the benefits of choosing an FHA, a conventional client over an FHA client, in your opinion, when you have multiple offers that are over the listing price?
That's a really good question. So here's my take on that. You got to understand that money is very cheap right now. Okay, money is the cheapest it's ever been. So just because somebody elects to do an FHA loan doesn't necessarily mean they're like a marginal borrower, right? So if you call the lender, which you should, I don't know if I should say this on record, but don't you ever allow your seller to accept an offer without speaking to that buyer's lender first. Okay.
Got it.
Please. I want to hear that guy or that woman on the other phone, and I want to hear the way they talk about this prospect. Hey, you have a borrower that submitted an offer on one of my listings. I just have a couple of quick questions for you. Have you seen pay stubs, tax returns, right? I'm not asking you for their credit score. I'm not asking you for any of that stuff. I want to know, have you verified they make 100 grand, or did they just say they need 100 grand? Okay, couple of quick questions. They have a 21-day appraisal contingency. They're asking to close in 24 days. Do you see any problems with that? They'll say yes, or they'll say no, right? If they say, yeah, this guy hadn't returned my email in 4 days and I've been asking him for this thing, you're like, red flag, right? If you never made that call, you wouldn't have known. So I wouldn't judge a person based on what type of financing they're getting for the most part. Now, if everything is perfectly identical, I probably would go with the conventional borrower simply because they're putting more down. They may be a little bit more stable. However, there was a time, 40, 50 years ago where FHA loans were like, that's what the poor people got. That's what the people with lousy credit got, right? That's not really the case anymore.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so more skin in the game with our conventional versus FHA right now is the bottom line.
Well, yeah, but think about it. If you're going to have a potential appraisal issue, who's going to be more likely to make up that problem? Somebody that's rolling quarters to get to 3.5%, or somebody that's rolling quarters to get to 20%? Right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Does that make sense?
All right. That makes all the sense. I got another question just out of that one.
Let me throw one more thing out there about that question, which is, you have to be really careful. Okay, really, really careful, because you how do I say this? You don't want to get into a situation where you're saying like, oh, you had an FHA buyer, so we went with the conventional loan. That's actually none of their business. We chose you, or we did not choose you. You're not required to give a whole lot of explanation. And quite honestly, the more you say, the more you're opening yourself up to problems. Like, oh, well, you chose this guy because they're heterosexual instead of a homosexual, or you chose this guy because they are black or white instead of orange or green. Like, just keep it simple. You won or you didn't win. Okay? We live in a very litigious society. People are on the edge right now. You have to be really, really careful. Okay?
As a follow-up question to what was just said, so does the seller, I don't know if the term I'm looking for is automatic, but do they automatically have permission to talk to the buyer's lender, or do they have to get permission to talk to the buyer's lender?
I am not aware of any type of permission that needs to be granted. Now, the lender, by the way, is held to a certain, there's certain confidentiality stuff, right? But simply saying, hey, have you checked this guy's, have you seen his supporting documents or her supporting documents? There's no issue with asking that type of question.
If that lender,
They're
if
they're
that
not going
lender,
to tell you how much the guy makes or what his credit score is or something. And quite frankly, I don't want to know. I just want to know, do you think this is going to close or do you not think this is going to close? Do you have any hesitation whatsoever?
but he would have, the lender, if you got pre-approval versus pre-qualification, the lender would have already checked all of that. But what you're calling the lender about now is because you increased the price some, and so you want to make sure.
That's it. If the price does go up, yes, you want to double check to make sure they're qualified for the higher price. Though I'm going to make a generalization here, which is the world hasn't really caught on to the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval,
Okay.
right? And some banks may call it one thing and some banks may call it a different thing. And, they may have different thresholds for how many supporting documents they got before they called it a pre-approval or something. There's too much gray area. I'm going to go straight to the person that knows the most about this borrower and ask the question, do you have any reason to believe this deal is not going to close?
All right. Thank you.
That makes sense? Great question though, right? Do you need permission? No, I don't think you need permission. And the lender will tell you when you're overstepping your bounds, right?
Okay.
But most agents, I'll tell you what, most agents don't know what the hell they're doing. Okay, so if I'm on the other side and I'm a buyer and it's multiple offers, I'm going to call the listing agent just like Donna did and say, hey, is there anything that you can share with me that's important to your seller? And out come the floodgates, right? I've asked a very vague, open-ended question because my job is to inform the client that I have committed to working with or we've committed to working together. I'm not going to do anything unethical, of course, but I'm going to ask all the questions I want to ask. I'm trying to defend my client, right? So I say, hey, Donna, is there anything that you could share with me that's important to your client? And an untrained, unrehearsed agent is going to let way more come out than they should. Way more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say, yeah, just give me 177 and we got a deal. This guy is about to get a divorce. He's pissed off that his wife's been in Chicago for 6 months and he hasn't moved there yet or whatever. Be like, oh, thank you so much. Good to know. Right. By the way, let's say the home goes under contract and the home comes back on the market active. Okay. The seller is under, or the listing agent is under no obligation to tell you any of the details of what was accepted.
Gotcha.
Right? Because let's say the home was listed for 200 and the seller agreed to a price of 190. Then for whatever reason it didn't work out, home goes back on the market. If, for example, even during the time it's under contract, and it wouldn't be crazy, let's say for another agent to call the listing agent and said, hey, I've got a home that's going to be coming on the market in a couple of weeks, and I see that you have a home that's under contract. It's supposed to close in 2 weeks. Do you mind sharing the details of the contract with me so I can better price this home? Honestly, that's probably a fairly innocent question. Okay, I don't believe that the other agent is like trying to necessarily do anything wrong. It's just none of their business, right? You'll get the details when the deal closes. You know better than that, right? Because if I tell you, hey, the seller's agreed to 185 and the deal dies for some reason, and that woman happens to know a buyer, do you think they're going to give my seller more than 185? Not a chance. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we got to be short and sweet answers with a smile.
Bill.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you do all of your deals right now, is it because with deals that I've done in the past, I haven't seen where all of the lenders are just so, I would say proactive as to send over letters with like outlining what their client is going to pay every month and all of that. Until recently, more so, right? So I wanted to know for you, when you're representing the buyer on that end, is that a requirement that you have for each of your buyers lenders to make sure that they also outline for them the payments in addition to the pre-qualification letter when they're working with them? Or what are just your thoughts about that as far as the aggressiveness of that lender if the buyer chooses their own?
All right, I want to pick apart a couple of things you said.
Okay.
Number one, I don't think that's aggressive. I just think that's doing their job.
Just plain out. Okay.
Okay. Number two is you gotta also be very careful when you say require, right? There's some things I don't have control over, right? The buyer can choose whatever lender they want.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have some requirements for what I expect from the people that I'm in the middle of a deal with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, if the buyer says, hey, I'm working with my Uncle Joe from Uncle Joe's lending company,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I'm going to call Uncle Joe and say, hey, I want to see the loan worksheet.
Mm-hmm.
I want the itemized list of what the costs are going to be. Because
Okay.
because if maybe the guy needs some closing costs, I want to make sure I don't ask for too many or for too much or too little, right? And so if Uncle Joe says, well, I don't send that out, say, well, I'm representing your cousin here or your niece here, and I want to see that stuff so we can make sure this deal goes to the closing table and there's no surprises,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if
Okay.
they give me a bunch of pushback, then I've gone to the buyer before and say, I got a couple concerns with your lender.
Okay.
Okay. There's a few things that are pretty commonplace. I'm having a hard time getting a hold of him. He's
Mm-hmm.
dropped the ball a number of times. I've got some concerns here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Guys, there's just so many things that can happen in a real estate transaction. I just want to work with A+ players. That's
Mm-hmm.
all it is. Like, if you're a C player, I don't have time for that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I want A+ players on my team.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Right. By the way, that goes with every vendor, right? Many of you have heard me tell this story. One of my first transactions was a little condo down in Decatur, and this isn't like in 2007 or something. So this is a long time ago, different kind of market. But we had negotiated a $45 cleaning bill, right? My buyer was particularly concerned about this weird sticky little thing on top of the fridge and this weird sticky thing in one of the cabinets. And nowadays it'd be like, are you kidding me? Don't bother me with that kind of crap. But this is 2007 where homes are sitting on the market forever, right? So we negotiated a $45 cleaning bill. So a maid would come in, we'd pay the person $45 and the place would be, that would be it. So I didn't have a maid. I was pretty new. I reached out to the listing agent. I said, hey, do you have a maid? He introduces me to this woman, and I meet the woman down there, and I said, I know this kind of sounds odd, but I've got $45 to pay you. So the first thing I want you to clean is that spot. The second thing I want you to clean is that spot. And then once you feel like you've earned $45, please feel free to pack up and take off. I don't want to assume that this is a $45 job. When you feel like you've earned $45, you're done. She cleaned that place from every little tiny crease and crevice. That place was sparkling, and we worked together to this day. Okay. The same day, I actually there was also a carpet cleaning thing that we had negotiated. The same day, I met a carpet cleaner out there. I was feeling kind of cocky. I was an idiot back then. And, I said, hey, you'll be my guy unless you screw up. Then we're not going to talk again. I don't have a carpet cleaner. I need a carpet cleaner. I'm going to be pretty successful here. So you can be my carpet cleaner for my entire career if you keep me happy. He screwed up that day. We haven't talked since. You see, I want A+ players, right? One of the exercises that I'm going to throw out there for Monday is building your database through vendors, through other business owners, right? So for example, I used to have a guy, eventually he screwed up, so we don't talk to him anymore. He ended up hitting on one of my clients. That was the end of that, right? For a long time, he was very well behaved. And I don't know what happened that day, but that was the last day we worked together. Anyway, he ran a flooring company. So people would call him in, install tile, install hardwoods, whatever it was. And he always asked the question, what are you doing this for? And many times the person would say, oh, I'm prepping my home for sale. And he would look at them like this. And I trained him how to do this. I said, look, don't you make a real estate decision without talking to Bill first. Super serious, super straightforward. Are you clear? Not, here's this guy's card. That never works, by the way, right? Hey, I meet a lot of real estate agents. There's some good ones and there's a lot of bad ones. Do not talk or do not make any real estate decisions until you talk to Bill. Okay, I'm going to do a 3-way email right now, right here. Follow me? You got to train your people how to help you. And in return, you got to go out of your way to support them, right? So who do you think was at the top of my list when they said, oh, I want, a carpet replaced, or I need a backsplash installed, or I need his big thing was decorative cement, when they put the cement out and then they do some cool designs in it. That was his gig. Okay. That's what he really liked doing. But I'm not going to be recommending him to anyone else because he's a womanizer. All right. What else, guys? Having fun yet?
So
Sure.
if no one else has anything, I just wanted a little guidance on, is there anything that I need to do when I return the call to the listing agent to let them know that my buyer is agreeable to 183? Is there anything I should be saying or not saying?
There's no other changes to the contract, right? Simply just a change of 183.
Just the sale price.
Okay, so make sure you go in there and at the bottom of the front page where it says the time limit for the offer,
Mm-hmm.
and make an adjustment to that. So, you know what I mean? Like, because that original offer might have originally expired, 2 days
5
ago,
o'clock
right?
today.
So make sure that they have enough time now to then sign this renewed contract, right? Don't change the offer date because then you got to go back and change everything, but just change the deadline of the offer. When you call the guy, I would say, first of all, I just want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to make an amendment to the contract and to be the ones that were chosen. I really, really appreciate that, right? Butter them up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, hey, I'll go ahead, since I've got the contract, I'll go ahead and make the edit and we'll send it over to you. And I'm excited to wrap this up and to move forward. Thank you so much.
So I'm just changing that original contract, putting in the new sale price, changing the bottom for the response date and time. And that's it. Just resending the same thing with those adjustments.
Exactly.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fantastic job. Don't forget, guys, that there's a lot of realtors out there, but it's still a pretty small community, right? If you're a jerk on the phone, or you're not respectful of people, you're hard to reach. You are, kind of letting it fly on the phone. You let your anger get the best of you one day. Like, it's not helpful. Okay. I'm not going to tell you that I haven't gotten irritated sometimes, and I've made my fair share of calls back to the agent to apologize, but I know what's right and what's wrong.
So I have a unrelated question if nobody else has anything.
Go ahead. The rules around here, the first person to talk gets what they want.
Gotcha. I was on a call with Robin the other day, the 10 to whatever at 411 plan. And somebody had mentioned, or at least I believe it was on that call, that somebody had mentioned that they were going to use Red something or Vulcan. It sounded almost like it was some sort of robocall.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about that for a second. What that person was referring to was a service called RedX.
RedX.
Okay. RedX is a similar provider to Vulcan 7. Vulcan 7 is a service, and LandVoice is another one. There's a couple of big Espresso Agent. There's a few others that people can use. It is basically a data aggregator, for lack of a better way to put it, that collects all of the for sale by owners, the expired listings, and the withdrawn or canceled listings. And then they sell that data for a monthly fee. Vulcan, for example, is about $350. Vulcan 7 is something that's included in the PC program at no charge. So we pay for that for you. So Vulcan is simply the data. Now, Vulcan also has, and many of these other providers also have, a dialing system. Okay. There's another dialer that I preferred back when I was using a dialer a lot. It's called Mojo Cells. Here, I'll type it in here. MOJO cells.com. This is a service that you can, this is the robo part of it, if you will, Diane. So you can drag the data. You can either use the dialer as a part of Vulcan 7 or LandVoice or Expresso Agent or any of that, or you can take data from some other source. Let's say you have a directory of some sort. You drop it into the Mojo system, and it basically, you guys are like so dressed up for work today. I love seeing this. Man, Ebony looks sharp, Liz looks sharp, Diane looks sharp, all y'all look sharp. Kim, you too. No smiles, nothing. Come on now.
So I'm sorry, Bill. So the Mojo Cells.
Sorry, I'm going off on a funny tangent. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Sometimes you got to rein me in, okay? Mojo Cells, it's in the chat right here. I typed out the web address. I believe a single line dialer, I want to say it's $109 a month, and you can get a triple line dialer for, I believe, $139 a month, okay? The idea there is it auto dials all the numbers for you. So think of it like this, okay? I'm plugged into the system. Let's say it's calling a list of people that I'm going to invite to an open house, or I'm going to have for sale by owners or something, right? And it's dialing, let's do the single line dialer first. It's dialing one number, and it shows you that it's dialing, and then it picks up and you say your script, right? And it even has a thing where it pops up and it could read your script, right? And then all the information that they have about the property, like a link to the tax records or any pictures or any of that kind of thing, it's right there in front of you. So you're just saying the same thing. You know, you rattle off your script. And then as soon as that call is done, it dials the next one. If it goes to voicemail, and then you can hit a button and have pre-recorded voicemails. So basically you're leaving a voicemail on this person's number while it's auto dialing the next person, okay? So you can it's just a volume thing. You can go through more calls all at the same time. They have a triple line dialer system where actually you 3x that, meaning it's dialing 3 numbers at once, not just one. So the first one that answers, that's the one you talk to. If there happens to be a second person that picks up immediately after, you can have a pre-recorded message that says something like, hello? Hello? Maybe we have a bad connection. I'll call you right back. That's like the message. That's not like you talk, right? And then as soon as you're done with the first call, the system starts the next call, which goes back to that person. Hey, I don't know what happened there, but I'm glad you're on the phone now. See what I'm saying? They figured it all out.
And so RedX and Vulcan 7 are really the data aggregator programs.
Yeah, it's a RedX.
Sorry, I said that wrong. RedX and Vulcan 7 are data aggregators. So they're really selling you the numbers or selling you the listings or selling you the data you asked for.
Exactly. And by the way, gosh, I'm trying to remember the exact website. Maybe we've talked about it in here a little bit. There's websites that you can buy just about any list you want, right?
Gotcha.
It's called like, is it List Reports? Let me, I'll mail that to you guys, or I'll send that on the WhatsApp also. List Report. I'll look that up and let you guys know. I can't think of it right this moment.
Yeah, if you could email that to me, that'd be great.
Yeah, of course. So it's something like, you know, let's say you want a list of people who are behind on their mortgage, or you want a list of absentee owners, or you want a list of people that have filed for divorce, something like that. You can buy just about any data you want. You drop that information into the dialer, that's what you do, right?
All right,
Look, everybody needs our help. So somebody might say, you're going to call a bunch of people that are about to get divorced? I'm not. I've never done that personally, but there's plenty of people who have fantastic businesses doing it. And I'll tell you what, those people need help too. I'm not trying to like help them sell the home for less than it's worth. I'm just offering my services. If they don't want my services, that's fine. no hard feelings. But I'm here to help. I've spent the last 15 years trying to figure out how to help real good, and I'm here to offer that to you. Right?
Yeah.
All right, guys, will you guys listen to something for me?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to put out a Facebook ad campaign on this knock program. I just got certified.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a short version to this, but this is a shorter video, and then we're going to retarget with this longer video. So tell me what you think about this. So you want to move into that dream home, but you don't have time to get your home ready, or you can't even imagine getting the kids or pets out for showings, let alone keep your home clean. And what if you don't have funds to get your home ready to sell? And what if you sell your home quickly and now you're in a rush to pick out a house? Then there's having to carry 2 mortgages. And these days, if you put in an offer with a contingency of selling your home, you're not winning that deal. I have a solution for you. I just finished my certification training on a lender program called Knock Home Swap. You buy the home you want first, then you concentrate on selling your home, and you have up to 6 months to do it. They will even advance you up to 10% down payment and the cost to get your old home prepared to sell. So to be clear, you buy the home you want, move in, then we focus on selling your home at market value. This is not an iBuyer that buys for 20% less than it's worth. This is a revolutionary, and it is exclusive to only me and the agents in my marketplace. And then I kind of wrap it up. What do you think?
With one exception, I think that is freaking awesome.
Oh, good. Okay.
Really, really good. The only thing I would tweak a tiny bit is
Okay.
the line about having just finished the certification.
Okay. I wanted it to seem like it was
You could also say, I am certified to work with Knock,
okay.
not I just finished the certification.
Okay, got it.
You can inform them that you're certified, meaning that the idea by saying I'm certified possibly presupposes that other people aren't certified,
Got it.
right? But you don't
I'm
necessarily
certified.
have to say you just finished it.
Got it.
Thought it was really good.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank
you got a great voice. You have like a radio voice. It was good.
Yeah, great.
Ah, yeah.
Great.
Radio. Yeah, this is for radio right here. This is for radio.
I didn't mean it like that.
I know. I just kidding. All right, cool. I'm
I
about
think that's great, man. That's really, really good.
to see if we can get some leads off of it.
So is that going to be a video that is the Facebook ad itself?
Yeah, it'll be me in the video doing that script, and it's going to be, it's not the boosting thing. It's targeting everybody basically in our marketplace area, maybe in town, whoever I can get to watch it.
I think that is fantastic.
Okay.
Really, really good job. Make sure that you have the appropriate lead capture, right? So if they click
Yeah,
on
I
it
got
or
that set up too. Landing page and everything. Yep.
cool.
I think this is
and then I'm not assuming you haven't done this, but just to throw out a few ideas to make sure you do. You're going to get some action on that. Okay. So I would carry around a stack of seller intake sheets, right? With the questions that you should be asking a seller when they show interest, right? Get prepared.
Yeah,
Right.
because I've already talked to a client this morning, and the only reason why they didn't want to move, they admitted, is that they don't have time to get their house ready. They got kids, they got dogs, they're going to school,
Yep.
and so they're like, this is too good to be true.
We get
So now I
paid to
gotta
solve
tackle
problems.
this is too good to be true problem.
Well, that's what we get paid to do.
Yeah.
We get paid to identify a problem and then solve it.
Okay.
And periodically we have to make the problem kind of turn the knife a tiny bit.
Yeah.
But then we solve the problem and everyone's a winner.
Okay. All right.
That's
I'm
great.
gonna put this video out probably tomorrow or the next day. So if any of y'all see it, let me know.
Nice job, Liz.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Anyone else got any exciting real estate plans for the weekend? Anyone going to do any open houses? Anyone planning any type of surprise and delights?
Have an open house tomorrow.
Yay.
Beautiful. I thought open houses were only Sunday. What are you talking about tomorrow?
Tomorrow, 2 to 4.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Great job. Man, you guys are making me proud. Making me proud. Who else? Who wants to close us down? All right. My final request. I posted a version of the Shift book. Diane, I'll send you a copy of it too. Shift book. I'd like for you to read Tactic 5. Tactic 5 for, I don't want to say homework, but for your own personal benefit and for everyone that's relying on you to build a big business, read chapter 5, will you? Okay. Chapter 5 is, where did it go? Oh. Chapter 5 is not that many pages, y'all. It is starting on page 83 and going to page 108. Okay. It's got a bunch of scripts, a bunch of kind of, it just helps you get into the right mindset about what this business is all about, guys. We find people that need what we offer in a very organized, systematized, and efficient way, give them what they want, give them an awesome experience, and do everything you've committed to doing. And if you do that stuff with the right attitude and a high level of integrity, you will help an ungodly number of people, and you will make more money than you've ever expected to make. Okay? It's not that hard. You guys are impressing me. Keep up the good work, okay?
Where do we find this again?
I put it in the, well, first of all, it's in the Google Drive.
Okay.
I didn't also posted the PDF in one of the WhatsApps earlier. So
Okay.
Diane, I'll send it to you. It's just the PDF version of Shift, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. David, hang on 2 minutes. I'll be right back to you, okay? Y'all have a great weekend.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. You too.